Welcome, everybody, to the second in a special series of presentations by Bridges.Academy about Huna with Kumu Michael Longshore. In this video, Michael will share his insights and knowledge on the three selves of Huna. Welcome, Michael, and thank you again for being here and sharing more about the principles of Huna with us.
Well, thank you for welcoming to this Q&A about Huna. And our goal today is to touch on one of the core principles of understanding Huna. Again, remembering the Huna being the secret teaching.
Right.
We talk about having the Trinity, or being a tripart being. And as I am here before you today, I'll refer to it this way. Above my head, not too far away, is my higher self. Some people call that the superconscious. Some people have seen it actually as a glowing light or a halo. The part that I'm using to communicate with you, my mind, my conscious self, is my middle self. Then the part that's got my blood flowing, my oxygen moving through my body, all my nerves and nerve endings connected and working and all that, is my basic self. Now in that model, we could also say superconscious, conscious, and subconscious.
Similar to the psychology processes, Freud and particularly Carl Jung. Is that a similar process?
That would be a fair comparison. The Hawaiian would be the Amakua, the Ohana, and the Unihipili. Imagine around your navel, the gut would be the basic self.
Sounds right up our alley. I like the idea of this three selves. It's a kind of a universal process around the globe for lots of different systems.
Correct.
So can you please tell us about the three selves and what they are, how they work with each other, and that kind of stuff?
Well, the higher self, the Amakua, is a twin flame, a male-female spirit. Some people refer to them as having been soulmates. Excuse me. Other traditions make reference to the fact that the higher self may well be the sum total of all the best of all my past incarnations. My middle self is a conscious self. It reasons, it's very analytical. It has really no connection to emotion, very little memory, but it is one step below a higher self. It's in the process of becoming a higher self. Now, the Ohana, or conscious self, like the parent watching over the child, has a charge, and that charge is the basic self, the youngest of the three selves. Some people call that the inner child. Some people refer to it again as the subconscious. It has all the memories. It has contact with all the emotions. It is totally in contact with feeling. Now again, all of those memories and all those feelings may be rational, they may be irrational, but it's a child, and that child is developing, is maturing. And one day that child will be a middle self. When that happens, my middle self will graduate to the level of the high self. Now in the Huna, we believe that beyond the high self, your high self, my higher self, is what's called the Po Amakua. And the Po Amakua is a level above the higher self, or the Amakua. And there's actually one more level that would refer to as called the Kehakua. And that's like the supreme being, the ultimate God. And the old Hawaiians would say, we got enough stuff going on in our lives right here. we could talk about that, we can wonder about that, but not too important to figure all that out. We'll know one day. But right now, we're kind of busy right here with the three selves and learning how to get them to all work together.
Yeah. So how does that work within Huna? Is there some kind of communication change? You talked about the Aka chords in the previous episode, and is it like a silver cord between the two or three, and even above that to the Po Amakua, if I said that correctly?
Right. There's this thin, sticky substance that connects all of us, including ourselves. And imagine it like a house. The house has a basement, a main floor, and a second floor. The high self lives on the second floor. The conscious self lives on the main floor. And the basic self lives in the basement or downstairs. Mm-hmm. And imagine a telephone line. Remember the old telephone lines before we had the iPhones and all that technology?
Hard lines.
Yeah, right. And those lines would run from the main floor down to the basement, if you will, bottom floor. And then from there back up to the upper floor, the upstairs. And it'd be like a telephone conversation. Now in the Huna, our goal is to have a three-way conversation at all times. Mm-hmm. All parts are tuned in, listening. It's like a conference call. We may or may not, all those parts may or may not have something to contribute or to say, but they're all connected. What we've learned, what the old kahunas knew way before our modern psychologists knew it, because, that maybe it's because they were an island nation and they had to figure this out because they were surrounded by water and sharks and a few other things. So they had to learn how to do things that maybe we don't really are not that concerned about. Perhaps we've evolved, we've progressed a lot more. In their time, what they realized was that oftentimes the inner child didn't want to talk to the higher self. And what they found out was that the basic self, that inner child, had guilt about something, maybe real or unreal. They might have felt shame. They might have felt pain. Again, they're not a middle self yet. They're still a child. And like most children, we have a tendency to live in a fantasy world. We'll make things up if we don't know really what's going on. We'll just kind of fill in the blanks. And what the kahunas figured out was how to help people relieve themselves of that real or unreal, made up or what have you, ideas, thoughts, belief systems, and clear that path so that there were no blocks, there were no kinks in that telephone cord. And they realized that the middle self, the adult, was very helpful in saying, you know what, I've been a basic self once upon a time. I've been right where you're at. I could use alchemical hypnotherapy to help you.
Cool.
I could help you figure out how to work it out. Okay, so the middle self does its part. The child gets it. The child's ecstatic because now it's like free of all that other stuff that was maybe weighing it down. It makes the request using a form of a prayer request. Sometimes they're conscious, sometimes they're unconscious. But what we see happening is there's an immediate response within minutes, hours, days, weeks. A lot of people experience these things and say, oh, it's a miracle. Well, yeah, it is a miracle. But it's a little more, it's easier to understand it for me and others through the Huna model. Because, again, real important here, the way we're designed, again, as an ideology, the way we're designed, we will graduate one day from being that child to a middle self and another lifetime. And then when that happens, that middle self will go on to become a higher self. And there's a lot more involved in it than just that, but that's a simplistic view of where we're all going. We're all headed in that direction.
I get it. And it seems very pertinent right now. It seems like a lot of us are, with this pandemic going on, living in that lower self.
Absolutely.
Willy-nilly and not necessarily connecting with our mind. and listening to that side of ourselves. So can you tell us a little bit about how that communication goes between each of the levels, besides through this Aka chord? Is it a prayer kind of thing? Is it a consciousness theme of some kind? Give us a little clue about that.
Well, what comes to mind is the life force. If you're a Star Wars fan, you might just call it the Force.
Chi.
Chi, prana, ki.
Mm-hmm.
When I studied Aikido, we called it ki, and all of that. But there's this universal energy, and we all can create it. We all use it to survive. Thank you. I was just having a communication with the higher self, just reminded me of something. Anyway, the mana that we generate normally by just having this conversation, by going out and jogging, by doing just conscious breathing, conscious meditation, just having trained our basic self. Okay, time to generate mana. Where does it get generated? We believe in the Ohana, it's generated in the abdomen, in the lower abdomen. And we visualize it being collected there. But before we get to that point, fresh water, fruits, vegetables, healthy eating, real important. That becomes the food stuff that is turned into mana. Some people might call mana glucose. We know it is.
Yeah.
It's glucose. But it's in a very rarefied form. Now imagine that glucose going along that line to the high self. Wow, does the high self need mana? Absolutely. Absolutely. What does it do with mana? Well, it keeps us well. It keeps us healthy. It keeps us sane. It's like a closed loop. Now it can also share the mana with another high self. It can also give a portion of the mana to the great company of high selves. The great company of high selves may offer it up to the Ke'a Kua, and then or Po'ama Kua, and then the Ke'a Kua. We don't really understand exactly how all that works, but we know in our loop and among each other, we can create for ourselves and do daily, create mana. Now, even our religious texts talk about the mana from heaven. And we now know that was a metaphor. It was what some people call the God stuff. There was this return flow that we send mana to the high self with a prayer request. Well, currently, the high self may be in the process of creating what I asked for this morning. And I'm getting around to a point here. We stay focused. It's like having a vision board. Don't keep changing the pictures on the vision board. Create the board and leave it alone, right? Yeah. But what we can do is we send mana with the same pictures, the same vision board. Because what happens is the higher self comes in and says, okay, you changed some pictures on your vision board. We got to tear down the old vision board. What? Oh, yeah. What happens then? My life gets kind of rocky. Hey, honey, I just lost my job. Or, gee, that neighbor used to be friends with me. Now they're angry with me. Or, hey, I don't feel so good. I'm kind of sick. Well, I've been asking for different things constantly, nonstop. And my higher self sort of like trying to accommodate that. That's at least our belief system. So we stay focused. We get a clear platform. We let the high self create what we've asked for, what we're looking for in our lives. That will manifest in our lives back down through the middle self. Middle self will go, bing, got an idea. Ooh, I had a dream. I had a vision, or whatever. But when the three parts are all working together, they're all supplying the portion of the mana that we need. Okay, here was the thing I had remembered just a minute ago. What's so important right now with the coronavirus? What is the number one symptom that everybody's concerned about besides a fever?
Dying.
Well, that's a pretty big one. Okay, well, let's reflect on that for a moment. Okay, a dry cough.
Oh, yeah.
Can't breathe. It attacks the bronchial tubes, the lungs. Can't breathe.
Mhm.
Need to be able to breathe. See, the old Hawaiians had it straight. They focused totally, well, not totally. A big part of what they focused on was breath work. Well, not unlike a lot of our other traditions in
Sure.
2020, right?
Right.
Our other spiritual disciplines, our other, I have another story, I'll tell it later, but being in the hospital, having a respiratory therapist check my breathing and say, my God, never seen anybody can breathe like you.
Mhm.
But it keeps us healthy because I'll close with this. What we know in the Ohana with the three selves is when we shut down our breathing, we can start to lose it up here. Plus, our physical body can become ill and have an ailment. So, point being, if you're able to breathe and you don't have any restrictions there, follow sound medical advice. Don't disconnect yourself from your ventilator, please. But if you have the ability to get up and even in meditation, visualize creating mana, doing the breath work, you'll be so much better off.
So that, even if you're not a Huna practitioner, that
Exactly.
breath work is a powerful process, as
Right.
most of us that have studied these esoteric things know. It's integral to life. And so, wow.
Yeah.
Michael.
Pretty simple, right? Pretty simple.
Wonderful, Michael. Thank you so much again. This has been a wonderful thing. The benefits of the communicating seems like the core, or a big part of the core of Huna. Is it basically done in a prayer type thing, or is there chanting? Those kind of things.
However you want to apply it. You may do it in a walking meditation. You may do it in a lotus position. You may do it lying, prone on the floor. You may do it while you're hammering nails into a board. You may do it while you're singing. Some people reach these exalted levels just through their voice and their sound. But there's an awareness in the Huna that these parts are working together.
I think I read in one of Dr. Wingo's books about the rain. May the blessings of the rain fall upon us.
Right.
I think that's what Huna may be for a lot of people nowadays, and particularly in this situation that we're all in.
As we, mentioned in the past, I'm standing here on the shoulders of those who've gone before me. It's real important to me. I don't know what's going to happen to the world. I really don't. I don't know about the pandemics. I don't know about any of this stuff. But what I do believe is that there's always going to be change. It's inevitable. And I'm taking my turn at the wheel, and I'm trying to be a support to those who come after me, who can acquire this information so it's not lost again. It's not hidden. It's not buried. It's no longer a secret. And as I stand on the shoulders of people like Dr. Ortho Wingo, who is a really close personal friend of Max Freedom Long, my mentor, one of my first teachers, my first mentors, a linguist, a PhD on a university level, who wrote the class that I teach, the basic tenets of the Huna. A person that I knew personally. We didn't always agree on everything, but Huna encourages debate. It encourages us to question things, and again, without causing harm or hurt, because we're all in this together, including what's happening right now on the planet that we all occupy. And last thing, the Ohana. I love it. We have a plaque in our dining room that says Ohana means family. It's up on the wall over the breakfast table, not dining room table, but the breakfast table. And maybe because they were an island nation, I'm not sure, but those people, Tahitians, Fijians, all of them had to figure out how to get along, had to figure out how to survive together. Because I don't know how far you can swim, but I can't swim that far. And maybe that boat doesn't hold everybody.
Mm.
And besides that, I might get tired of being out on that boat. But point being, what are we seeing in the world right now? What is the big call? It's global. This is not over there. It's here. And I'm so encouraged by that. I'm so excited by that.
Nice.
It's time. It's time for, no more secrets.
Yeah. Wonderful points. Wonderful points. Thank you. Michael, you're a blessing, I tell you. You're just a treasure trove of fun and knowledge. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Please join us on the next session for a current and very special edition of this series called Using Ohana in the Current Global Crisis of COVID-19, where Michael will talk about using Ohana to work with the physical, mental, and spiritual bodies. We hope you enjoyed this segment and do hope you'll join us on the next exciting and pertinent edition. Thank you for joining us.